Good evening, everyone. Just taking a few seconds as we continue to let people funnel into the Zoom. Want to thank you all for attending and welcome. This is our introductory and informational presentation from the Chicago Park District's update to the Grant Park Framework Plan. My name is Michael Lang, and I'm with the Chicago Park District, and I work in the Planning and Construction Department. This evening, we'll begin our first public community meeting with more in-person meetings to happen in the near future. We're glad that you could come and share some time with us this evening as we begin to learn more about the update to the Grant Park Framework Plan. We look forward to your continued participation throughout this evening and the rest of the process. I would like to take the time to introduce you to Sherelle with our design team, who will be our host for this evening.
Great, thank you so much, Michael. Good evening and welcome again, everyone, to the Grant Park Framework Plan 2023 update public engagement meetings. We are so very excited and greatly appreciate your time for this evening. And again, my name is Sherelle Withers. I'm a part of the design team focusing on community engagement with Withers Strategic Solutions. We have several members of our design team here with us tonight, and will be introduced shortly. Again, we do hope that you continue to stay engaged throughout the meeting and share your thoughts, your ideas, your questions with us regarding how to make Grant Park one of the best urban parks in the world for all of Chicago to enjoy, but also for all of us who come to visit our wonderful city for generations to come. Next slide, please. To govern tonight's meeting, we're going to go over just a few small housekeeping rules as a reference for everyone attending tonight and those unable to attend. Tonight's meeting will be recorded. This video and a slide deck will be available on the Chicago Park District's website under the Grant Park 2023 Framework Plan under the featured capital projects. We had over almost 300 registrations for this meeting, and for the sake of time, all attendees will be muted. The chat will only feature these housekeeping rules and general instructions and directions from the design team. But we do hope that you post your questions, comments, and ideas throughout the Q&A. The Q&A will be monitored by our design team, and questions will be answered in the question and answer portion of the meeting tonight. The questions and answers also will be featured on the website, on the Park District's website. This meeting will also feature a number of Zoom polls. Excuse me, sorry about that background noise. A number of Zoom polls that will be available and visible on your laptop or mobile device that you can answer directly. And lastly, because we invite all questions and answers and ideas to come through the question and answer, we do hope that everyone listens with understanding and respect, that the questions are coming from a place of wanting to see a better Grant Park experience. In addition to the over 300 acres of performance venues, gardens, artwork, sporting facilities, and a host to a variety of public gatherings and several large annual events, Grant Park is not only front and center in Chicago's front yard, but also the everlasting memories that we have in connection with it. So many of our memories, some of my memories include walking under the Columbus Underpass to get to my first 5K walkathon, my first barbecue leg from the Taste of Chicago. But we want to hear from you what your favorite memories are. So I'm going to invite one of our panel members, Alicia Ponce, to join us in our next activity. Next slide, please. And so we're going to be going through the next slide. You should see shortly a question come across your screen. And I'll read the question out for you. What is your favorite memory from Grant Park and what year did it occur? You know, just an approximation. We just want to get a sense of like how you enjoy and remember Grant Park. We'll just give it a few minutes to allow for everyone to enter their answers, and we'll review the responses just shortly.
What is your favorite memory, Sherelle? Do you remember the year?
Oh, I think it was 2007. It was a summer dance festival, and they had all of the summer dance, and it was pouring down rain on a Wednesday evening, and no one left. The music was so good, no one left. The party went from Grant Park to Michigan Avenue, and there were like street vendors playing music, and so people danced, all walks of life of everyone being at Grant Park and enjoying the music there, took it to Michigan Avenue. And so it was just like just this whole big family of people that you didn't know were part of your family that love Chicago, that love music, that kind of just continued to go on. So that's my absolute favorite memory, my favorite memory of just thinking about Chicago overall, because it had just some of everybody, every age group, people in suits, in the rain. Everybody was in the rain, but we stayed out there dancing.
Oh, I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
it was
Well,
awesome.
I was
Summer
going to
dance.
say summer dance too,
Summer
but I
dance
was not
I
there
still
on
have
the
the
rain.
flyers. Yes.
Yeah, I do appreciate the walking along the lake, running on the bike, or running or being on the bike along the lake. And that's really nice too. So we're going to wrap up our poll, and we're going to see some of our answers, see what some of your favorite memories are. Thank you so much for answering. Can we wrap up the poll? 100% answered. Let's see. 77 of one. All right, so let's wait and see. What our answers are. I don't see them on my screen.
Well, while we're waiting, can you share one of your other another one of your favorite memories, Alicia?
No, I really, running the marathon there, that's the starting point and the end point, right?
Yeah.
That's a little weird to say it's favorite to torture yourself running 26.2 miles, but it is a really beautiful spot, to start and finish, I have to say. Or even spending a family day there is really nice to walk around near the lake.
Yeah. Okay, great. We have the answers in.
So let's see. Let me read some of the answers. I have, well, we can all see it, the planetarium, definitely Buckingham Fountain, Obama's victory celebration in 2008. How often do you get to see, a celebration of the presidency in Chicago, right? So that's pretty,
right.
Right. The Grateful Dead. That would be cool. Yeah, Bike the Drive.
Yeah, Bike the Drive. Yeah, Bike the Drive.
Bike the Drive every year. Blues Jazz Festival is always huge. The lawn concerts, I definitely enjoy those.
Exactly.
And see,
especially with the blues and jazz being bedrocked here in Chicago. So it's always great that we're featuring the festivals here.
So I'm glad to see that a lot of people also enjoy walking along, with their family too. And I see another marathoner there as well. A lot of bikers, the fireworks, 1999 and 2000. So, and Buckingham is, pretty popular. 2010, walking our dog. Yes, can't forget our pets either. So thank you for answering. This is a great start to the presentation. As we mentioned, we are going to learn more about the Grant Park Framework Plan so that we can get your feedback, your thoughts. That's why we're here. And let's continue. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And again, as we mentioned, we have a stellar design team that the Park District selected to allow for us to try to help capture your thoughts, your ideas, and put together a plan to again showcase Grant Park for now and for generations to come, to have that ultimate wonderful everlasting memories of an experience. And to lead us off, we have Urban Works Architecture. They are our team lead. They provide project management, architectural planning, and community engagement. And from their team today, we have Carrie Berg, Maria Palo, and Dom Hart. And they can, you'll see them throughout the evening. And then also we have Brush Architects, and we have AP Monarch, which we heard Alicia Ponce, who's the principal with AP Monarch. And we also have Laura Nunez, who's handling all of our technology awesomely, and Nicole Gennard that are handling sustainability and community engagement as well.
Yes, and the other part of our team is Confluence. They are doing landscape architecture and urban design and planning. And you've already met our wonderful host, Sherelle Withers with Withers Strategic Solutions Consulting Group. And last but not least, we have Engage Civil with civil engineering. Next slide, please.
Right before that, though, we have one more important team member that's a part of our design team, and that's you. And a part of this being something successful that we want to make sure that we're, again, capturing your ideas, thoughts, and feelings, and just any comment that you may have to want to make Grant Park a better experience. We know that it's extremely important that we incorporate your thoughts and your views. And so you are also an extended member of our design team. And with that, we want to have Maria Pale definitely talk to us about why we're here and give us context into the meeting and how things are going to go for the rest of this evening. Maria, take it away.
Thank you, Sherelle. And thanks, everyone. My name is Maria Peyot. I am Principal and Design Director at Urban Works, and I am excited to be here tonight with all of you. I am so excited that so many people signed up and are attending. So thank you so much for your time. We know it's taking time out of your evening. So why are we here? The short answer is because we all love Grant Park. So we are here to together help shape its future. But for us to dream up the future of Grant Park, we have to recall and be mindful of the original intent of the park, which was to protect and to prevent lakefront development and therefore protect the open spaces for all, which is why today it is commonly known as Chicago's front yard. The beginnings of Grant Park itself date back to 1835, and much has happened to the park and at the park since then. As you might have seen on the slideshow, that was the timeline that was rolling when you first signed on to the meeting. But we want to focus on the more recent past, specifically the last 30 years, and acknowledge the work that went into the 1992 Grant Park Design Guidelines and the 2002 Framework Plan. Some of the attendees here tonight might have actually been participants in those efforts. So if you were, thank you for that. The 1992 Design Guidelines was the first recent effort to document Grant Park's history with the purpose of providing context and direction for both its preservation and its development. It was then followed 10 years later by the 2002 Framework Plan, which used the 1992 Design Guidelines as a springboard, resulting in the first Framework Plan for Grant Park. So what is a Framework Plan? A framework plan is a tool to create a comprehensive vision of future development. It outlines specific short and long-term goals and how to achieve them, and serves as a guide to evaluate future proposals and future ideas. For Grant Park, it was important to develop a plan 20 years ago to revitalize the historic context, the historic core of the park, while transforming other areas to fully realize the potential of one of Chicago's greatest assets. There were lots of great ideas resulting from the 2002 framework plan, and many developments came to fruition from those efforts, including some that I'm sure you know: the resurfacing of the Fountain Table, the development of Millennium Park and the Art Institute expansion, as well as the skate park and the south end of the park, and improved pedestrian connections to the museum campus, just to name a few. Considering the changes to Grant Park over the last 20 years, it was time to reconsider Grant Park once more and to refresh the 2002 framework plan with a vision focus on its future, the next 20 years. Our team will be using the previous work as a basis for the work we are doing 20 years later, and we invite all of you to continue to participate, contribute your thoughts, and be an active participant for the 2023 update to Grant Park Framework Plan, Chicago's Front Yard Reimagined. Next slide, please. Tonight's meeting is intended as a general introduction and orientation about the public engagement process in preparation for the upcoming in-person meetings that we will talk to you in more detail in a bit. To that end, tonight's agenda is broken up in 6 parts, and it includes the meeting opening and opening survey, welcoming, an orientation around the meeting, a presentation of Grant Park images showing destinations within the park, stakeholder meetings recap and expectations for upcoming public meetings, a question and answer session, and then finally closing survey and next steps. Next, please. Tonight's meeting is the kickoff for the public engagement scope, as Michael mentioned earlier on. And we look forward to, again, collaborate with all of you stakeholders. With that in mind, the goals of the meeting tonight are to inform everyone about the engagement process, educate you by sharing the history and the context of the project and what we heard during the previous 3 stakeholder meetings, engage you and start getting your input about Grant Park's future, build a relationship with you and invite you to participate in future opportunities for engagement, and lastly, to capture your questions, your concerns, and provide responses as time allows. Next, please. Earlier, we mentioned that the 2023 framework plan will be a refresh of the 20-year-old previous plan. This will be a 2-year process broken into 4 phases. We have already completed phase 1, the site verification and program analysis, during which we looked at the park's historic documents, its history, existing context, and we documented what is there today. We are currently in phase 2, highlighted in orange, which is a year-long process during which we meet with a designated stakeholder group and the general public at intervals, and we develop and vet ideas for the framework plan. We, again, appreciate your engagement and your time and want to reiterate that your participation and your ideas are super important. We are here to listen. We need your feedback. This is a really critical part of this design process. So thanks again for being here. The third phase is the design and plan development, which overlaps with the public engagement phase. And during this phase, we will draw up options, plans with ideas and direction that we receive from you and that together we discuss. Those various ideas will eventually be distilled into a single plan, which will be the basis for phase 4, the framework, the final framework plan and report. We expect that report to be available to the public at the end of this year and to start serving as a roadmap for any future development within Grant Park. And now I'll pass it on to Sherelle, who will lead us in the next exercise.
Great, thank you so much, Maria. And with that, we again are encouraging you all to put your questions and answers and comments, which will be again focused in the later part of our presentation, and to be respectful in our question and answers. And we're going to start with another poll. Again, you should see a question pop up on your screen that will And the question is, what is your favorite spot in Grant Park? Where do you love to go to? What is your what is your jam? Like, where do you always have to go to feel at home, feel at peace, or or join into some of the activities that are going there? So we're gonna again share the responses a little bit shortly, and Alicia's gonna join me in going over some of these responses. And so we're going to give you guys a few more minutes seconds, I said, not minutes, to give answers. Because it's just the one spot, because really the whole park is like is for me, my favorite spot. I don't know, there are too many spots to say, but I think the spots that hang out are the ones where you can enjoy beauty and artwork and still I can still have a bird's eye view and people watch all the hustle and bustle on Michigan Avenue. That's my spot. So I can have like the best of both worlds. I can be in peace in nature and also still be in an urban environment. And I think that's the beauty for me of Grant Park in terms of a spot.
Yeah, even, if it's in the spring or in the summer, I mean, in the winter, there's lots of little places for, to go sledding, right? Again, for families. And that's always a fun spot over on the south end of Grant Park. A fun area. So I see the we have active participation, and we will be closing up the poll. Thanks again for answering. We can't wait to see what everybody else is saying. So the south end of the park, I really like, because there's, there's art, there's nature, sculpture, right. And it's just a really, a park that offers so much.
Right. I know for me, I think the most daunting artwork was the Agora statues. The men or the headless features. But again, there's so much artwork, just so much to see in Grant Park. It's over 300 acres, so it's a lot. Let's see where people.
Yeah, so I mean the sculpture areas and the flower gardens. It has such a diverse, landscape that you can enjoy and appreciate.
Absolutely. So it seems like everyone else is agreeing with you, Alicia, is that, definitely, okay, we have more on the Buckingham Fountain, definitely the color, the light show that they usually have there during the summer.
And its proximity to Millennium Park. I mean, you can't beat that.
Right. Yeah, and then even the concerts at Millennium Park. I've gone from concerts from Millennium Park to Grant Park back and forth. So it's definitely a musical trail, definitely.
Proximity to museums. Pickleball, there it is. And what is pickleball? I just learned what that was this summer. And it's a lot of fun. South President's Court, Buckingham Fountain. I love walking by Buckingham Fountain. And the Lakefront Trail. The Pritzker Pavilion. Lincoln statue.
The garages.
It's a great place to take people, right? When they're from out of town, friends and family. It's like, what do we do? Well, we have to. Grant Park is a must. So
absolutely. I mean, there's so many already programmed activities, as well as all the different events that happen at Grant Park that'll just allow for everyone to find something for themselves. Even as far on the northern end. During the winter months, you can go skating at Maggie Daly. So I
see the South Rose Garden a lot too on these responses, and I'm excited to take these responses and to see what's in store for the upcoming meeting. So thank you again so much. We are going to continue onto our presentation, and yeah, we'll definitely taking these responses back and use them.
And with that, Carrie Berg from Urban Works is going to take us around the park and show us some of the great locations that many of you have already highlighted, but maybe some things that you haven't seen. So Carrie, take it away.
Well, thank you, Sherelle. My name is Carrie Berg. I'm the project manager at Urban Works, and I am happy to be here tonight and meet all of you virtually. It was really great and interesting to see all of your favorite spots in Grant Park. It seems that you're all very familiar with Grant Park, but I wonder if you may be familiar with all areas of the park. If you direct your attention to the upper center light highlighted photo that shows the bike path, I'm sure many of you are very familiar and have traveled on the bike path that is right along the lakefront. I have, I love it. But are you familiar with the photo at the lower end of this slide, Lower Hutchinson softball fields? When they're not in use, have you noticed the vast open space? Just imagine the possibilities. Next slide. If you direct your attention to the upper center highlighted photo of the rail lines, I'm sure most of you are well aware of the rail yards that cross through Grant Park. As you make your way over the many pedestrian bridges, I believe I saw a really interesting comment that said these bridges offered wonderful views. So you're all familiar with the rail lines, but are you familiar with, if you direct your attention to the lower right-hand highlighted photo of the temporary maintenance yard? This is a photo of the area that is just to the south of Maggie Daly Park off of Monroe Street. Have you ever wondered how this space could be better utilized? Next slide. If you would direct your attention to the lower center highlighted photo of Queen's Landing, I assume many of you have walked from Buckingham Fountain towards the lake, which is Queen's Landing. It was built in 1939 and was actually named Queen's Landing in 1959, when famously Queen Elizabeth arrived to Chicago at this location. But have you ever noticed, if you direct your attention to the upper left-hand photo of the sledding on the Logan Memorial Hill, have you ever noticed the sledding fun that happens during a snowy winter? We haven't had one of those good days yet, but when it happens this winter, you'll see sledders on the Logan Memorial Hill. This is an example that Grant Park is used in every season. Next slide, please. If you direct your attention to the lower left highlighted photo of Shed Aquarium, I'm sure most of you are very familiar with the museums, and I'd like to point out that the Field Museum and the Shed Aquarium are situated within Grant Park boundaries. I have been to both of them, and I've been to all the rest of them as well. If you direct your attention to the upper left highlighted photo, I am wondering if you are familiar with the quiet and serene garden just to the south of Harrison along Michigan Avenue, which is home to the Spirit of Music sculpture called the Spirit of Music Gardens. I believe I did see that also in the comments. Next slide, please. And finally, the upper right highlighted photo of Maggie Daly skating ribbon. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are familiar with and or have walked or actually skated in the winter on the skating ribbon in Maggie Daly Park. That is on my bucket list to sign up this winter. But are you familiar with, and I know Sherelle mentioned this a little bit earlier, all the way on the other side of the park, on the south end of the park, which is the picture on the center left highlighted photo of Agora, is the Agora sculpture at the corner of Roosevelt and Michigan. The Agora sculpture includes 106 iron figures and is meant for all visitors to walk through and contemplate. It's a pretty cool area. So with this, I hope you have learned a few highlights of Grant Park that you were not aware of. So, and it'd be fun if we did learn more about it as well together. Next slide. I would like to turn it back over to Maria who will talk to you about the engagement process.
Thank you, Carrie. So the engagement process that we have established for this project is robust, as you will notice from this flowchart. The stakeholder meetings are shown in green and the public meetings are shown in blue. We have already had 3 stakeholder meetings to discuss general ideas and opportunities, as well as the high-level values that we share for the future of Grant Park. We are currently in the circled or squared first blue bar, squared in an orange outline. Again, the kickoff for the public engagement process. And Alicia will go into the future steps in more detail in a little bit. Before that, we want to share with you what we heard during the stakeholder engagement sessions. Next slide, please. The goal of those sessions was to help share the guiding principles for the project and to provide opportunity for input. Conversations were held on 5 separate stations and were grounded on 5 main topics, which included preservation and landscape, recreation, events, mobility, and safety and logistics. We had great conversations at every table, and we would like to share with you some of the highlights from each station just to give you a taste, an idea of the kinds of discussions we were having at the time, and that we hope to continue with you as we move into the in-person public engagement process in the near future. Next slide, please. So at the preservation and landscape table, lots of great conversations took place, but a couple of the ones that I'd like to highlight include access, making accessibility accommodations to the historic elements as possible. It might be a challenge, but I know there's a desire and there's possibility there. Equity, accommodating all surrounding residents should be, accommodations to all surrounding residents should be made, including a playground to the south and a dog park to the north. So it's a desire for equal distribution of assets throughout the park for the new residents and the established residents around the park. Next, please. For recreation, we discussed the idea of adjusting to current trends. So, for example, pickleball and soccer were discussed, and the conversation was around how popular is softball these days. I know there's going to be many opinions on this, but just the idea of adjusting to future trends or the current trends is something we need to keep in mind. And there was also a desire to have intergenerational spaces and activities for seniors and children to come together, for people to enjoy the public art, and to also encourage visitors, not just from the surrounding areas in Chicago, but people from all ages and in all areas outside of the immediate surrounding areas of the park. Next, please. For events, that was a big topic. We discussed accommodations, improvements for dedicated staging areas, possibly a system of secondary service vehicles that would help with the staging and the setup, etc. Infrastructure for temporary stages, and barricade beautification so that the park looks beautiful during all times of the year. And we discussed our shared values, which including minimizing the restricted access to the park during those big events, keeping the park beautiful during the events, leaving no trace. So, you know, a nod towards sustainability and how to make the park beautiful throughout the year and accessible throughout the year, and respecting the neighbors, the residents, the businesses, and the institutions surrounding the area. For mobility, next slide, please. The conversations spun around the idea of limitations and opportunities. So we discussed how once you reach the park, movement happens either via bikes or walking generally, and that can be limiting for people such as families with kids pushing a stroller, or maybe seniors that might not want to walk the long distances. So how do we make accommodations for that? So we talked about opportunities for other means means of transportation to get you through the park, more DV stations throughout, not just along Michigan Avenue, even some cool ideas like people movers or designated golf carts or free shuttles that would take people from one end of the park to the other to allow for people to come visit the park and actually explore further than they typically get to. And lastly, next slide. For safety and logistics, we spoke about the idea of equity and safety and security concerns that should not target specific groups, but they should be for everyone. And another big topic of conversation for safety was the priority for pedestrians and traffic concerns, especially around Columbus, Lakeshore Drive, and the mid-block pedestrian crossings on Balbo, Monroe, and Jackson, and solutions around what could be done to accommodate both the traffic and the pedestrians in a safer way. There's lots of opportunity for discussion there. And with that, I will pass it on to Alicia to go over opportunities for future engagement in more detail.
Thank you, Maria. So for the next steps, as you've seen, we have focused on 5 topics and they cross-pollinate between each other. And following this virtual meeting, we will host 3 meetings known as meeting 1, 2, and 3. And these meetings will be the same, giving you 3 opportunities to attend either one meeting or all 3, whichever you decide. They will be open house in an as you please. They are family friendly. Our first meeting will be on January 24th, just around the corner at the Chicago Cultural Center. And meeting 2 will be at the Art Institute of Chicago in the Ryan Learning Center Modern Wing. And the entrance is at 159 East Monroe. This is on February 2nd. And the last in-person meeting will be at Columbia College Chicago at 1104 South Wabash. So once again, this is an opportunity for you to continue to let us know your thoughts. A lot has been said about safety. I see that loud and clear, and I agree that safety is a huge important factor when you're a pedestrian, but yet we're interwoven in vehicular traffic. So we've heard that. And so we definitely want to emphasize family-friendly, open house, and we have some interactive activities trying to make it engaging for all ages. We can go to the next slide, please. And yeah, so we want to invite you to come prepared to talk to us and write your thoughts down and continue to share. Think about the 5 principal topics, and we can't wait to see you there. So what we're going to do next is we are going to take a short 4-minute break. We are going to look at the questions that have come through, compile them, and answer as many as we can. And we will see you back here in 4 minutes. We will start promptly at 4. We want to be respectful of everyone's time. So take a break, bio break, get up and stretch. We'll see you in 4 minutes. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. So we have compiled questions, and I did mention this before, but I do want to share that all of the questions will be posted onto the website, and the link will be provided at the end of the presentation. So please be in tune for that. We will collect all of the questions and they will be shared there. So I'll go ahead and read the questions, and they will be answered by one of the design team members as well as Michael Lang, however they whoever it goes to. I'll pitch them over to them. So our first question is, why does Grant Park need reimagining?
I'll jump in and take that one.
Go ahead.
Well, it's been 20 years, and as you know, a lot's changed with regard to the park's context and within the park. So there's a number of new residential developments. So we have a lot of people at the park and its context 24 hours and use it as a local park. And we all know that it also has to function as a regional park and really a global park. So we want to give that some more thought on how we can accommodate both. And there, as Maria mentioned, a number of suggestions, recommendations as part of the initial framework plan have come to fruition, but others have not. So we want to take this opportunity to understand why perhaps they haven't, some of which seem like excellent ideas, and to consider and if they're still tenable now, and if maybe the context has changed such they could be reconsidered, or maybe they need to be rethought and realized in another forum.
Yeah, and I just want to add really quickly that in addition, there's many events and many new concerts and other things that have been happening within the last 20 years. There's the institutions, the Art Institute, the Field Museum, etc. They continue to evolve. There's opportunities for more, engagement with green space, for more engagement for families and seniors and so on. So, it is just good practice to keep updating a framework plan every so many years so that we can always think about the next generation and what they would be expected and how to continue to make the park, keep the park relevant and a great destination as it has been for so many years.
Thank you, Maria and Tom. And thank you, Miriam B. Question. The next question is from Amparito Martinez, and she asks, what are some ways Grant Park will include, bring communities, and introduce the rich cultural diversity in the city? So true.
Yeah, that is such a great question. And there is definitely opportunity to bring cultural diversity within the park. This is everyone's park. This is Chicago's front yard, and we should be celebrating more of it, right? So these are the kinds of questions and kind of little seeds that we would love to continue to develop and to talk about and think about during the open houses that are coming up in the near future. We would love more thoughts on this. We would love your ideas. How would you implement it? What would you do? I know there's opportunities for art. There's already music. There's many ways in which the cultural diversity of Chicago and beyond can be represented in the park. So making spaces for those opportunities to exist is really critical.
Yes, and your first opportunity to continue these conversations is coming up on January 24th. So we want to see you there. We want to hear how we can do this. What are your ideas? Amparito also asks, who are the stakeholders?
It's a great question. Does the Park District want to answer that? I can generally answer it, but I guess I'll just generally say that the stakeholders are a group of organizations and individuals that have been involved in the park for a long time. groups such as the Grand Park Advisory Council, the Friends of the Park, the Art Institute, the Field Museum, CTA, there's so many. Some of these members, as mentioned earlier in the presentation, were even involved in the 1992 and the 2002 framework plan. So would you like to elaborate on that, Michael?
I think that covers it. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job, Maria. The next question comes from Abraham Herrera. What efforts will this project include to improve pedestrian safety and access to Grant Park and the Lakeshore Path? You know, that's a popular one.
Yeah, pedestrian safety will be a primary import, not just safety, but I think begin to give more priority to pedestrians, how they access the park and then how they move through it as well. I think we would all agree that the vehicular traffic is currently prioritized in Grant Park, and that it is segmented as a result. And so the connection of the various components will be of primary concern as we reconsider the framework plan.
Thank you. Tatum Thomas, looking to understand how and where the plan includes public safety measures, another safety question. Do you want to add to your last question, or do you think that the last one, your last answer covered it?
It sounded like maybe that went thinking about safety in general, so beyond just pedestrian safety. So there may be some policies, maybe we're thinking about call stations, other ways for people to access assistance if in need in the park, particularly in hours when it's not well populated.
I think lighting was also a conversation that we had during the previous meetings, maintaining a level of lighting and, you know, taking care of those darker corners and darker areas where people could maybe, you know, be concerned about walking past. But, you know, as we all know, a popular place becomes a safer place. So making the park accessible and well lit and popular, continuing to be popular, ideally during most hours of the day, will make it a safer place. So there's opportunities for that in that way as well, in a more natural way.
Improve signage and wayfinding too.
Right.
And security.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to how that evolves, because we all talk about our being there, but how do we get there, right? So let's walk the whole thing through. So thank you for those questions. And next we have Mark Wagstaff. Mark wants to know, how does the current project intend to adhere to the existing Grant Park framework plan that was completed circa 2000?
Well, as Maria said, it is the springboard, and many of those ideas still remain relevant, though not implemented. So we will look to those first, as mentioned earlier, to try and understand why perhaps they have not been implemented to this point. And maybe it's simply an evolution of those ideas, a tweaking of those ideas so that they can become realized, or perhaps the need for them has been supplanted by other needs. And so there may be new developments that are a departure from the original framework plan.
Thank you. We have questions about, another mobility by Carl Bean. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Carl Bean. How do we get Grant Park to the lake without LSD in the way? That's a good one. Thank you.
Everybody wants to do that. There have been grade separated considerations in the past, and they will be part of this reconsideration as well. Grade separated, one of which was implemented with the underpass, overpasses, and other means of getting across the park without having to traverse the drive lanes will continue to be considered.
Yes, and we have, thank you, Dom again. And Ash Hare wants to know, why are there 12 plus lanes of dangerous, noisy car traffic cutting through the park. Why, Dom? Can you
Right.
answer that, please?
I can't yet. We're still asking the same question. So, but seriously, I think the number of lanes as well as their size and composition will be reconsidered. I think the way that park is set up, I mean, I'll just speaking for myself, I very much enjoy arriving and departing the city in a vehicle. And I think what we have to consider is how do we accommodate both? I think maybe more than eliminating would be a reduction and slowing of traffic. And there's several measures in which one can do that.
Yeah, because it's definitely an experience of walking on your own, walking with somebody who needs accessibility, you know, and the timing has to be right to be safe. And then we have one last question, or actually another one, I think by Ash. Can we provide feedback after this meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
The answer is yes. Additional input can be provided through the Chicago Park District's website, and the link, I believe, will be at on the last slide, but it's Chicago Park District's Grand Park Framework Plan feedback is within the Park District website. We'd love to hear more from you, and you know, you might have a thought in the middle of the night, just write it down, share it with us, or bring it to the meetings, the public meetings in the near future. Continue to give us your thoughts. There's, again, lots of topics, lots of ideas and conversations, so let's continue those going so that we as a design team can take the ideas that resonate and that, you know, can really be impactful for the next 20 years and move those forward.
Thank you. And the last question here that we have time for is, can you repeat the dates of the in-person meetings? Yes, we can, and I can do that because I know them. And the first meeting is on January 24th, and that one will take place at the Chicago Cultural Center in Preston Bradley Hall. And these meetings are for 2 hours, okay? So you can come and go as your time permits. The following meeting will be on February 2nd, and this one will be at the Art Institute of Chicago at the Ryan Learning Center in the Modern Wing. And then our final in-person meeting will be at Columbia College Chicago at 1104 South Wabash. And that is on February 8th. So we have 3 opportunities. You can come to one, you can come to all, however, you know, your time permits. You can bring family, friends, bring them all. So that will wrap up our Q&A portion of the program. And I will pass it on to Sherelle. Sherelle, are you next up in the program here?
I believe so. We're gonna
All right.
right back into hearing back more from our esteemed participants tonight with another poll. So again, you should see the question post on your screen. And our first question is, are you excited about the Grand Park Framework Plan moving forward? And, you know, obviously we have a lot of attendees here tonight with a robust number of questions and comments. With the robust number of questions and comments, as well as just responses with the overall poll. We know that you guys are already engaging. We thank you for that. But we want to also know, do you want to get deeper into talking about some of the challenges that have been voiced in the questions here tonight that you see in the Q&A, or so things that you may think about later. But again, all of this is in efforts to allow for everyone to see themselves in the park, to see the park to have a sustainable future. beyond today and for generations to come. So did the poll wrap up or did it post?
The poll show on the screen. Am I missing something? While it pops up on the screen, I do want to add information that I should have about the meetings. The meetings will all take place from 5 to 7 p.m. All 3 meetings will be from 5 to 7 p.m. So we hope that we'll see you there.
Well, it appears that we're maybe having a little technical difficulties on the poll launching. But I guess we could maybe go back to analog, and if you feel so inclined, I don't know if we want to flood our Q&A with all of the enthusiastic yeses and whys of people wanting to chime in to say that they are going to participate in the next meetings, either on the 3 meetings that have been talked about. You think about, you guys want to do that? Just kind of, I think we aren't able to launch the poll right now. So if you want to just add that, what to answer and respond to the 2 questions as to, are you excited about the Grant Park Framework Plan moving forward? And do you plan on attending any of the 3 meetings? So if you could just, I guess, in the Q&A, just put your response there, we would greatly appreciate it. And then we can all see how many people who are really interested in really being engaged and being a part of the overall, being a true representative of that extended design team membership, and really put forth their
Yeah, we'd love to get your feedback if you're excited about what you heard tonight and the upcoming meetings. If you are, we would love to hear your feedback. Either way. And will we see you at the public meetings? Feel free to answer.
okay. And we apologize for the launching up. Is still we're in the gremlin stages of technology, still not necessarily being, we have to find ways to integrate with it, but sometimes it doesn't want to integrate with us. So
so please take note once again of our upcoming meetings, in-person meetings, open house, and the times are 5 to 7 p.m. And the link to continue adding more information, questions, or to visit and see the questions that were asked tonight with the responses, please visit the link you see on the screen. We so appreciate your time.
are we getting any answers in the poll?
Yes, we're getting some answers. We
Oh, great.
lots of people excited about the plan. We appreciate your time tonight, and hope to see you in person in the future meetings.
Yeah. So again, the dates are Tuesday, January 24th from 5 to 7 at the Chicago Cultural Center. Thursday, February 2nd, Groundhog's Day at the Art Institute. And Wednesday, February 8th at Columbia College, also from 5 to 7 p.m. We invite you to come out, share your thoughts, share your comments. The entire design team will be available to answer your questions. And again, we really want you to understand that you are an integral part of our design team. We need your input. We got a significant amount of input tonight, as we have with some of the previous meetings, the stakeholder meetings that we had prior, but we want to incorporate all of the comments from you all to make sure that as we move forward, and as the Park District meets with its other sister agencies, including the Chicago Department of Transportation, CDOT, the Cultural Center, and all of the moving pieces that keep our city going, that are impacted by all the activities that happen at Grant Park, they all have to be a part of the process. So we compile everything together so that these comments can be brought forth to all of the deciding agencies to then craft a much more sustainable future for Grant Park for all.
And Sherelle, I do want to take this opportunity before we close out. It is to address Lisa Voigt's comment about the meetings, how they work. Yes, they start, we will open the doors at 5 and the open house will last for 2 hours. So if you can get there, you know, if you get there at 6, you can spend as little time or as much time as you want. It'll be set up like exhibition style. There'll be tables where you can vote on the 5 topics. We'll have interactive activities for you. So the open house meeting is not really meant for 2 hours, although you can certainly spend 2 hours there if you'd like. I hope that helps, but it's open to allow for people who can get there at 5 or who can get there at 6 or 6:30.
And yeah, definitely take advantage of going to the Chicago Park District Featured Projects website to gather the information from the slide deck, the viewing of this recording, the question and answers, and even to post additional questions that you may have on the feedback component if you are not able to attend. But we do hope that you do attend the meetings, because I feel you will get a lot more out of it. We have awesome visuals that will drill down and show you deeply what is happening within the park, and then even some of the historical components, some aspects of the park that can change, and aspects of the park that we may have to work around. But we engage you and we appreciate your time tonight. And with that, we will be, unless someone else from the design team has some more comments to add. Michael, you have anything to say? Any announcement from Park District? Any fun activities that you want to promote? Okay.
Not at this time. I just want to thank everybody for coming, and we look forward to your continued participation. You all have a good evening now.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everyone.